Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to the BehindTheSteelCurtain.com flagship podcast. That's right, the Standard is the Standard. I am Jeff Hartman, editor of said website, and joining me as always, my partner in crime out on the West Coast, Lance. What's up?
Hey, Jeff, as I look at you, I just thought of it. We were talking off air. As I rub my beard, you must be shaving every day because you look like you haven't grown any hair. And I know you would have a beard within like 5 minutes.
Yeah. I shaved yesterday. I showered in the afternoon, cut my hair, shaved, so it's a little clean shaven. It gets my kids always freak out when I shave my face, especially the youngest one. She doesn't recognize me for a little bit and kind of gets a little standoffish, we'll say. And I tell my wife, like, I could have a beard in a week. Like it's fine. Like it's not a big deal.
She's like, who's that guy?
It's a blessing and a curse. I've been shaving. I shaved. This is funny. It's simply off the topic, but oh my gosh, like I shaved for the first time when I was in 6th grade. I'll never forget. I used an electric razor and I just shaved my mustache. And I remember I thought I was the coolest kid in school. I was the only one that ever shaved like that early. And then I didn't have to shave again until I got to high school. And then, man, it's just I come from a long line of my dad is Romanian. His dad came over and immigrated to the United States from Romania. That's just real thick facial hair, just real thick. So there you go.
That's hilarious. You were shaving in 6th grade.
I didn't have to shave all the time. I didn't have to shave all the time. I shaved one time.
You were like Barry Bonds. You were that guy in Little League that had a beard, and everybody was wondering what that guy. He's really
the funny thing is though is that I wasn't like, if you say Barry Bonds, I didn't have the giant head or anything. It's just I don't know. I was a late bloomer physically, like my muscular system just sort of developed as like college. Anyways, let's get to the news. Let's leave them.
It was all in your mustache.
That's right.
It absorbed all of your nutrients.
You can picture in your head 6th grade Jeff in the mirror, scared to death of an electric razor, thinking it's going to hurt, and it didn't. I did it on my own. So there you go.
Wow, that's hilarious.
Big shout out to Steeler Tank, who's tuning in, saying, listening live for my Steelers birthday. Happy birthday. Hope you enjoy it.
Tank had a mustache in the 4th grade. That's the rumor.
Maybe he did. He beat me. There you go. Before we get started, a couple things. Before we talk about the headline, which is the most important Steelers player on offense that isn't named Ben Roethlisberger. Brian Anthony Davis would kill me if I don't say this, and that is that he is coming up with this idea for a mock draft show on his show next Monday, the Steelers Q&A with Tony Defeo. He's looking for fans to be a participant in the mock draft. So far, he has 14 people that have signed up, and I'm going to put his email here in the comments. I hope I get this right. I think I did. Put it in the live chat, and I'll put it here on the screen. badavis8889@gmail.com. He's looking for you to email him and say, I want to be a part of this mock draft. You will be assigned a team. You will make the pick for that team, and they're going to go all the way up until the Steelers pick in the 49th in the 2nd round. Should be a lot of fun, but they are looking for participants. So, again, badavis8889@gmail.com. What's up, Lance?
Is this the correct email address? I know there's been problems with the email address in the last several shows. Is this the correct email
address? That is the correct one, I believe. Yeah. I'm badavis8889. Yes, that's right. I got it right.
Okay.
So now, other than that, we're doing some spring cleaning here before we get started. There is an opportunity on the table, and Lance wanted me to say this before we got started today, for us, meaning on YouTube, our Behind the Steel Curtain family. And if you didn't know we're on YouTube, go to youtube.com, search BTSC Steelers Radio. You'll find us there. Subscribe to the channel. You know the drill. There's a chance for us to have a members only section of our channel. What it would be is you would pay for this membership, and you would get special shows, special content. And we're actually talking about doing some really interesting and I would say some really fun and funny stuff during the season, like actual watch parties during the games, and chiming in maybe in like the bit of the 4th quarter, because I think it would be pretty interesting to see how everyone is responding to all this. But if you would be interested in potentially, and we're not sure about cost or anything like that yet, but if you would be interested in this membership group or this membership part of the channel, Lance, don't you think it'd be worth it?
Yeah, it'd be worth it. And when you were saying it, I had an idea. Like, say, for instance, if you were a member, like one of the difficult things right now, while everybody pretty much in the country is under shelter in place, is it's hard to get a haircut, right? And so who was the Steeler guy currently that has a ridiculous beard? It's Ben Roethlisberger, and you had Kiesel, who had a ridiculous beard. So, like, if you were a member of the channel, one of the things we could do would be we could have a giveaway, like who has the worst haircut right now, or who has the longest beard, something like that, because no one can get a haircut. Like, whose hair looks the worst, who's the most disheveled. And if you were a member, you could then get a t-shirt or something. You would win the BTSC Bad Kiesel Award.
There you go. No, you're right. And we would even do some extra shows. So, for instance, the standard is the standard, but still be on for everyone. But there might be a post show that is only for members. And so keep that in the back of your mind. I'm looking to roll this out by the beginning of the season, or right around preseason, if not before then. But keep your eye on that. I don't want to spend too much time talking about that. We're just brainstorming. We want to know if you'd be interested. Let us know in the live chat or send me an email. Just go to behindthesteelcurtain.com and you can see my email address right there. Let's get this show on the road, Lance. And that is, it's an offensive show. It's my favorite show. Whenever we're just talking about the offense,
I've switched hats. I'm an offensive guy. I've switched hats. You haven't.
Come on, you can't do that to me. I've been doing offense since we got started with this.
You haven't noticed that I've devalued defense in like every other show on Friday?
I know. It's never happened.
Yes, I devalue defense all the way.
Yeah. And shout out to Just Me, who puts $2 in the tip jar and just says, hello, family. Hello, welcome to the show. I hope everyone that's joining us live on YouTube is safe and ready to roll. Let's talk about who is the most important player on the Steelers offense that is not named Ben Roethlisberger. I don't want position groups. I want an individual player. That's the tough part. Everyone can say, well, it's the offensive line. Well, no kidding. It's the offensive line. But what about individual players? Lance, what do you think?
I think it's, unfortunately for the Steelers, it's Mr. Glass, James Conner. I think James Conner is the most important offensive player outside of Ben Roethlisberger. We talked last week, Brian Anthony Davis and myself, about, some of the most successful years that Ben Roethlisberger has had as a quarterback, and just the importance of the running game in general to Ben's comeback. We cited 2007, 2014, 2009, 2015, and 2018 as some of his best years. And in all those years, he was complemented by a running back that had close to 1,000 yards or over 1,000 yards. You look at some of the stats with James Conner, and I'm only looking at 2018 because it's hard to do a comparison with last year because Ben Roethlisberger wasn't in the lineup. So when he played, they went 8-4-1. Without him, they went 1-2. Now, if you look at some of the ratings, that's where it gets a little bit interesting, because Ben's rating was actually better without Conner, 106-95. His yards per attempt actually was slightly better without Conner, 7.9 to 7.5. But 8-4-1, 6-game winning streak. I didn't take a look at what Ben's record was when Conner had over 100 yards, but I'm going to say that it was absolutely over 500. I would say it was probably close to 700. So I think Ben Roethlisberger plays his best ball with a dominant or with a very good running back. And it just so happens that the best running back on the Steelers football team is James Conner, because I think we could all say, we would all agree that when Conner is healthy, he's Mr. Mr. Butt Naked and Rob Light. He's Mr. Butt Naked and Rob with a towel on. So, when he's right, he's a very good back. I would say it just so happens the AFC North is stacked with running backs, and Lamar Jackson might be the third best running back actually in the AFC North. But when you look at the AFC North with Mixon and some of the other backs and Chubb, he ranks right up there with those guys. So when he's healthy, he's that guy. And I think he's the most important guy outside of Ben Roethlisberger on that offense.
And you kind of went into the next topic of how important is Connor to the offense. We'll talk about that in a second. But for me, I think it's the offensive line, but you have to pick one player. And that's something that I prefaced this topic with. I'm going to go with Maurkice Pouncey for a couple of reasons. Maurkice Pouncey and Ben Roethlisberger have a great relationship, great working relationship. They both said they're going to play as long as the other one does, and then they're both going to hang him up at the same time. That's all great. Here's the biggest reason for me. The Steelers don't have that security blanket of BJ Finney anymore. It used to be, well, if Pouncey goes down, they've got this guy, that guy, whatever, who could come in. Maybe it was Cody Wallace before BJ Finney, but BJ Finney could come in and play center and be okay and be good enough. We'll put it that way. They don't have that right now and not heading into the 2020 NFL draft. So until they find that player, J.C. Hassenauer, not sure he's that guy. He's the backup center. Hey, you didn't even know who that was, did you, Lance? And
you are correct. I was like, who?
Exactly, yeah.
It's like David Hasselhoff's son. He tried to just change a vowel so he wouldn't have to claim him and play child support. Is that? I just thought
still, that was. No, but still, though, for me, they have no safety net, and when he's not in the lineup, is a significant difference in that line. I think that when you look at you look at the teams that they play regularly in the North, you look at the AFC, you got to have a good center. And Pouncey brings a new dynamic that most centers don't have, his ability to pull, to get out on the edge, his athleticism. Yeah, he didn't have a great year last year. He also didn't have a solid quarterback playing behind him as well. So for me, I'm going to say that it is Maurkice Pouncey. Now, good point by AJC in the live chat who said Wisniewski. I believe that Wisniewski can also flex to center. Am I right with that, Lance?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe he is that jack of all trades. It's going to take over for Finney at interior depth or as a starter. But still, I still think it's Pouncey because if you want to run the football, you got to have a center that can go downhill. You got to open up those holes, all that stuff. So that's what I'm going with. You agree or disagree with my pick?
I'm going to disagree with it because I think it's hard to ascertain how many points they lose if Pouncey doesn't play. And I probably took the safe route by taking a skill player because you can easily subtract out their points out of an offense and then see how much the offense scores when they're out of the offense. It's hard to kind of get a point value for, how many points. So if they average 28 points a game, 30 points a game, let's keep it round with Pouncey, how much would they average without Pouncey? I mean, they were terrible last year on offense. They averaged about 18 points per game. I mean, how many points don't they average, with Pouncey? If Pouncey's not there, do they average 12? Do they average 14?
You'd have to look at, that's where you look at, in my opinion, to gauge the value of an offensive lineman. I don't think it's in points. I think it's sacks surrendered and it's rush yards per carry or something along those lines. It's a different statistic. I understand what you're saying. Points are what wins games, but when you're not talking about a skill position player, it's tough to gauge it that way.
I think in thinking about it just out loud, I think you could kind of look at, in terms of sacks given up, how many drives does that eliminate? And with working with a lot fewer drives, how does that impact points? But it gets nuanced to try to figure out the points. I just know that when Ben has a very good running back or an above average running back, that's when he plays his best ball. They played their best ball with Connor in the offense. They scored more points. And now in terms of points per game, they averaged 28 points with Connor and they averaged 22 points without Connor. It's a small end, but the impact of not having Connor in the game is significant on a points per game basis and a wins-loss basis. And when you look at the two, that's just all that matters: wins and how many points you win. And even so, more than that, wins. Wins are most important, but that offense isn't the same, I don't think, without James Conner. And we saw how well James Conner played in that little stretch against San Diego last year. Like, he was a one-man wrecking crew against San Diego. They don't win that game unless he's playing terrific football.
Los Angeles. Sorry.
Yes. Well, it's always Los Angeles, Diego. Los Diego. Can I just say that? Los Diego.
Yeah. If you say Los Diego, that's fine. I think everyone would understand what you're saying.
Los Diego.
I trust me. I've said San Diego too.
And it's terrible because the stadium is across the street from my mom's house, so I should know. But it's terrible. But yeah, I think Conner is that guy. I think he's the most important offensive player outside of Ben Roethlisberger. That's why I think running back in the second round should be on the table.
I'm not disagreeing with you. And I think that if I agreed with you, it would be boring. So I went with Pouncey. So I thought that Pouncey's good. Now, I do think that Kathy brings up a good point. She says, I hope Pouncey quits snapping the ball into the stands. I think we all agree on that. But your boy, Grayson Brown, who's a hater, just like you are, puts $4.99 in the tip jar and says Conner is a rhythm running back. Steelers throw too much and perform worse without a running game established. It's a gimmick offense. It's a good segue into our next topic, which is really how important is James Conner, not the running game, James Conner to the Steelers offense. Do you agree with Grayson's take that he's a rhythm running back and that the Steelers offense is a gimmick offense?
It's hard. I think all running backs for the most part are rhythm running backs. I think most skilled players are rhythm guys, except those exceptional Julio Jones, Randy Moss type wide receivers that just have so much straight line speed they can just run by guys and just kill guys. I think wide receivers are less of rhythm players, but I think running backs are rhythm players overall. I don't think the offense is necessarily gimmicky. I think it is too tilted in terms of the pass. I think in 2018, Ben was throwing it above, I think over 65 times, 65% of the offense. And anytime a Steeler offense ranked almost last in the National Football League in yards per carry, that's just not the way to get it done. I think you win with the passing game, but I still think there should be an attempt to try to be balanced. I'm never going to advocate for 80, 20, 75, 25. I'm going to advocate for balance when it works, but I'm also going to advocate for slinging that thing when it works, because killing people in the passing game is the quickest way to kill them. And if you can do that, you should do that. But I'm not going to say it's a gimmicky offense. I'm just going to say they need Conner and Ben Roethlisberger for it to be any type of offense.
Well, and Alfred says, don't forget that James Conner benefited greatly from having AB and Juju demanding respect from the defense and not having the box stacked. James Conner's a beneficiary of that effect. Let me add a wrinkle to that. James Conner benefited from having a quarterback that could complete a pass to a tight end or more than 10 yards down the field. Therefore, defenses couldn't stack the box. So last season, if you're going to put everything on 2019, which hey, it's the last season, I get it. James Conner didn't benefit. A, he was hurt a lot, but B, Mason Rudolph and or Devlin Hodges were not threats in the passing game, period. As much as you want to as much as I liked Mason Rudolph going into last year, as much as Devlin Hodges, won games early on, they just weren't a threat. And so teams weren't scared of that. They didn't have that deep threat. Ben Roethlisberger just being on the field, literally just being on the field, changes it.
Absolutely.
Until he can't throw it deep, he changes that once the moment he steps under center.
Yeah, he does. You have to defend, as Mike Tomlin would say, every blade of grass, which is the worst. It's the worst. That is the worst metaphor.
AFC North football.
You have to defend every blade of grass. Like, really? There's grass outside the boundaries. There is grass. I hate that. I defend every blade of grass.
That's your least favorite Tomlinism? Not to get off topic.
He has so many. It's hard to cite.
You have red paint. You paint the barn red.
Yeah, that's
the moving train.
I love that one though. The NFL is a moving train, and you have to hop on. I love that one. Well, the worst one is the classic one. We're going to rain hell. What is it? Rain hell in November or
Oh, he
something?
says we are gonna
That's
it's not
terrible.
rain hell. You just changed my unleash hell. We're gonna unleash
Yeah,
hell
yeah,
in the
yeah.
month of
That's
November, and they lost every
and
game.
they lost every game. Now there's a great comment in the live chat that's absolutely funny, and that the Steelers are in a bad predicament, in my opinion, on offense because one of your most valuable offensive players is like I Push Hard says, Connor is a glass bull. I mean, and he's a glass bull, and that's the issue is I think the organization realizes how valuable he is. I was reading a couple articles this week about Connor, and the organization acknowledges, that he's a very good football player, but that he's just can't stay healthy. And that is going to be held against you. But Mike Tomlin said in the article, he's going to give Connor every opportunity to continue to be great, in which he should. But if Connor can get rolling next year, I think the support of the running game is one of the things that I think Ben is going to need because we talked about that, about the Steeler Nation having patience with the return of Ben Roethlisberger, and I think he's going to have to be able to lean on a running game, particularly early in the first quarter, the first half of the season, and so hopefully James Conner is that guy.
In the words of Lance Williams, riddle me this.
Riddle me this.
How will the two tight end package impact James Conner as a running back? Meaning Vance McDonald and Eric Ebron, assuming they're healthy. I hate having to say that every time I talk, but I do. I will. How does that impact James Conner in the way that they're going to use him, and will it hinder or will it help his production?
I think it'll help. I mean, you put more passing threats, particular vertical guys, out in routes. You deal with lighter personnel, lighter boxes, and you should presumably have more room between the offensive line, let's say, to the linebacker level. I think it helps. I mean, the more vertical threats you have, of course, you're going to be going up against dime, you're going to be going up against nickel. So I think it helps. I mean, when you can run against lighter boxes and lighter defensive sets, I think it helps. And I think that's what good running teams do in the National Football League. They spread you out and run the football well. I mean, it's no mystery. You don't want to go up against base defenses. So you want to attack teams that way. I mean, but they have to be balanced there because when you put the two tight ends on the field, you are going to go up against some base. You could go up against base depending on how teams match up to it. You hope to get smaller guys and more linebackers, potentially off the field if you want to run the football. But I think having more vertical threats and more weapons in the passing game only helps the running game. I think it complements it.
Yeah, that's one of the intricacies of this offense I'm really looking forward to seeing is how often do they run two tight end sets? Because the more I think about it, the more I don't think they're going to run them that often outside of the red zone. And it has a lot to do with Chris Carter, who joined us a few weeks ago, said that they don't typically run a lot of two tight end sets. But I just don't see them taking skill players off the field for a Vance McDonald, or maybe Eric Ebron is that guy that is that one tight end. I don't know. It's just, that's one of those things that I'm definitely interested to see how they play.
We talked about it on a previous show. Who comes off the field if they go 12 personnel? What's the wide receiver that comes off the field?
What if they go empty?
I mean, they could do that. I mean, I haven't really seen them run empty in years.
They'll do that in the red zone just to piss me off.
I mean, so they would go.
Will they run it? No, there's no running back.
So they would go simply 0 personnel, 2 tight ends, 3 wide receivers. Well, it'd be 20 personnel. Actually,
I think it depends.
0-2, I should say 0-2 personnel.
Well, let's assume they keep a running back on the field. Who are they taking off? I mean, I think it depends on what they're trying to do. I don't see Juju coming off under any circumstance. So it'd be either James Washington or Deontay Johnson. Most likely that would be Washington. So
yeah. So I mean, that's the good point. That's the good point of it, is that they can have some options, but I think some of that is predicated on the fact that they have a running game that you have to fear and allocate some defensive assets to. If you don't have a running game that no one respects, you'll just play light and cover everybody. Yeah. And you'll just say, forget it. You can't beat me in a running game. I'm just going to cover you. I'm just going to cover your guys, whatever.
Right. And it's a really good segue. We're really killing the segues today. Before we get to our next topic, I want to remind we have almost 100 people. We went over 100 for a second there in our live chat, watching live. Remember, like the show, please. If you're watching live on YouTube, all you got to do is X out of the live chat, hit the thumbs up button, go back to the live chat. It takes 2 seconds. You'll be back in the live chat before I finish my little rant. Make sure you like the show, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, and make sure that you never miss a show. Again, youtube.com, search BTSC Steelers Radio. Now, you talked about which wide receiver is going to come off the field. You know, is it James Washington? Is it Deontay Johnson? We don't think it's going to be Juju Smith-Schuster. And we talked about this briefly via text message today, and that was thinking back to 2018. Mr. Third and Fifth was still on the team. Gummy Richards.
Gummy.
What a player he was, and we've said this before, and he was a tremendous talent. But my gosh, have they recovered from his loss? Because losing an Antonio Brown is not we'll just draft a guy. You know, that doesn't happen. You don't just say, well, we'll just draft a guy. He'll be fine. He'll replace Antonio Brown's production. 2019, you saw that obviously that was definitely odd because of the quarterback situation, but Lance, from a personnel standpoint, not so much a performance standpoint. So I don't want to hear stats because I don't think they're valid because Ben Roethlisberger wasn't in there. Have they recovered from Antonio Brown leaving?
I mean, I don't want to answer like Dave because I was the guy that asked the question, and big up to little bro Sco, the Oracle, Dave Schofield. It's really yet to be seen. I mean, you're talking about a guy, and I don't want to give a stat, that was responsible, and I'm going to give a stat for about 3 points a game. Now, I think they're better positioned to deal with his loss this year than they were last year with the addition of Eric Ebron. Can I get a round of applause for saying that correctly?
You said it right, not Enron, which you could just call him Enron now because I think it's funny enough.
I think everybody knows Eric Enron. Big up to everyone who got a stimulus today. So I think they're with Eric Ebron / Enron matched with Vance McDonald and Deontay Johnson's emergence and James Washington being one season better with Juju. I think they're in a better position, definitely, to mitigate the loss of Mr. Gummy Richards. And let me ask you, I know you haven't had a gummy bear probably in 15 years, maybe ever.
I have, but it's been a long time.
Okay. Can we call him Black Forest?
What?
That's a brand of gummy bears. Mr. Black Forest. What's the other gummy bear brand? Hasbro's. Not Hasbro, but Hasbro.
It's got that gold package.
Yeah, they got the gold packaging. Now you got organic. Maybe he's an organic gummy. Maybe that's what he is. Haribo, that's what it is. Haribo Gold Bears. Maybe he's one of those. Black Forest Organic. Yummy Earth. Maybe he's one of those.
I was always a gummy worm fan. I always liked the worms better than the bears.
Organic. Jeff, there's organic vegan gummy bears.
Organic doesn't mean it's good for you. Like it can still be organic crap. It's still crap. It's just made differently.
That's like, well, that's perfect for Mr. Third and Fifth. Organic just doesn't mean it's good for you. He was organic on the football field, but he clearly wasn't good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But no, I think they're better situated now offensively with the addition of Eric Ebron to mitigate the loss of Mr. Third and Fifth, a.k.a. Black Forest, a.k.a. Gummy Richards. Hasbro.
I'm gonna give you my answer in a second, but first, 39 Ball and Cookie gives $1 in the tip jar. We appreciate that. And then Michael Clark puts $1.99 in the tip jar and says Deontay played a lot like AB last year. Do you see a breakout coming for him, Lance?
I do. I do, but I don't know if it'll look like. I don't know what it'll look like statistically, but I think he will make a lot of plays this year. They have a lot of weapons. especially with the addition of Eric Ebron. I mean, they have a plethora of weapons. So I think it's going to kind of look like what you've been talking about for the longest, that you've hoped this offense would morph to, that it wasn't so dependent on one guy, taking all the air out of the room and getting the majority of the production.
Well, when it comes back to did they replace Antonio Brown, I don't think they have yet. And even though his production, we're not talking about stats, I don't think that if you have still talk and chatter about getting a wide receiver as your top pick, which there is still talk and chatter about the Steelers maybe going wide receiver with the pick number 49 in the second round, then that tells me you're not situated at wide receiver. And therefore you're not completely over the fact that Mr. Third and Fifth and all of his craziness and chaos is no longer there. So I'm not against.
They're just really chatter that they want to take a tight end in the second round. Really?
You would be talking to a guy that would not be upset if they did at all.
Really?
Give me a big-bodied, tall receiver. I'm talking like a little bit bigger Martavis Bryant, and I would say let's roll. Let's go. Let's go get him in 2020. Give me a guy that's one-trick pony, and I'm fine. Now, some might say, well, that's Deion Kane. Okay, maybe, but you get a rookie, comes in. This is a great draft class for wide receivers. Best player available, right? Best player available.
Yes, yeah. Somebody, I can try to find who originally said it in a live chat, but Kathy Farid wrote, I think it was bent with Bo, maybe. No, maybe Bo Logan. But Kathy wrote, AB couldn't replace AB right now. And yeah, like they're probably right. There was a post in a live thread earlier when you were talking about your sixth grade mustache. Mike O'Malley was talking about how he went to school with Ricky Henderson's nephew. And I was wondering if Mike O'Malley was from Bushrod, if he was from the North Pole, the North Polar, if he was from North Oakland. So, Mike, if you're from North Oakland, let me know in the live chat. I used to live in North Oakland, so I used to live by Mosswood Park. So if he's from that area, he knows where Mosswood Park is. But yeah, Jeff did have a beard and mustache.
I didn't have a beard in sixth grade. I had like the peach fuzz on your upper lip. It was just darker than most kids. And I was like, I gotta shave this off. I had an older brother. He was shaving already. I got to shave. You got to do it.
Yeah, let's find those Polaroids. Those are blackmail photos that are deep. Those are in the safety deposit box. Jeff is really 45.
That'll be safety deposit box. Yeah. That'll be for the membership show.
Jeff was that little kid that was buff in sixth grade. Well, maybe his mustache was just buff. You had hair under your underarms too. Jeff had the full thing. You were doing deodorant. You were wearing Mitchum in sixth grade.
No, man. I remember, not to get too far off the topic here, I remember wearing Old Spice, a regular, and then my dad wore Brutes. He wore Brutes. And Todd would go in and take his Brutes.
Nice.
To this day, my dad still wears Brute. He still has spray-on deodorant, which I didn't even know exists anymore. And my wife cannot stand the smell of Brute. So I've always
didn't know Brute still existed, but
it does. It does.
We know the answer of why your dad can still get Brute. You know why? Because I always got to kill you because I'm from Pittsburgh and you're from...
And we're from West Virginia.
It's the Brute capital of the world.
That's right. My dad used to slick his hair back like Mike Ditka. He cuts it short now, but he used to slick it back like Mike Ditka, and he would spray so much Aquanet on that thing. I used to call it the helmet. I'm like, oh my gosh, Dad, you're killing me. All right, here we go. Let's get a question in here. $2 in the tip jar by 39 Ball and Cookie says, we need a running back with breakaway speed for the offense to work. And a lot of people have said that, and I hear you. But wouldn't Kareth White be that guy? He has that breakaway speed. He's not an every down player. He's not a guy that's going to run in between the tackles often, but he does have the speed to get on the edge and to make maybe make a guy miss, which is something no running back had for the Steelers last year. You like Kareth White in that role, or do you think he might have to make the team?
Yeah, I think he's going to have to make the team. And I don't think you
Well,
need
do
a running.
you think he'll make the team?
Well, no, because kickoffs aren't important. So, no.
And then number 10 does that.
Yeah, number 10 does that. That spot is solidified. Mr. Electronic Football Man, Mr. Ryan Switzer. That spot. Don't take my spot. I mean, he's quarantining in Ben's house. I mean, how else can you solidify your spot? I mean, he's a smart guy. I don't want to knock the guy for being smart. But no, I don't think it's critical that running backs have breakaway speed. I mean, a ton of great running backs have not. You know, running backs need to be able to pass protect and be able to hit the hole, be decisive, get downhill, make people miss. I mean, Mr. Third and Fifth, excuse me, not Mr. Third and Fifth, Mr. Butt Naked and Rob didn't have breakaway speed. He's a fantastic running back. I mean, you don't have to be Willie Parker to be a great running back. Le'Veon Bell was a fantastic running back. Jerome Bettis was a fantastic running back. Franco Harris didn't have breakaway speed. So the breakaway speed isn't a factor that you need. You just need to be a good running back. Don't run into the backs of your offensive linemen. Don't do that. Don't be like Benny Snell. You know, no lateral quickness. If anything, you need lateral quickness. You need to be able to cut laterally. You need to be able to one cut, have a little bit of wiggle. Wiggle and making people miss is more important than breakaway speed, in my opinion, than a running back.
Yeah. Now, before we get away from the offensive talk, we have some other football topics to discuss. Eddie B, man, he's joining you. I scrolled up to look at the live chat, see if I missed anything, and look what he posted. This is what Lance said last week when I cut my hair and shaved my face. He said, Jeff looks like he's 30 and 40 at the same time. How is that possible? First and foremost, if I look 30, thank you very much, because I'm a 37-year-old man. But how do I look 30 and 40 at the same time? I don't get that. I don't understand that logic of thinking.
I think it's because you don't have any hair on your face. Like, you look young and old at the same time.
How do
I just don't know.
It's like a weird Benjamin Button.
It's like it's just, but you look younger actually with hair on your face.
Well, there you go. That what? I look younger with the hair, with the beard?
Yeah, you look younger with the beard. See, I wasn't the only person. See, I'm not crazy. You know, he said you look 30 and 40 at the same time. See, everybody else is
Lance texted me and said you look old and young at the same time, and I said you look smart and stupid at the same time.
Exactly. Ryan Kellerman asked. Let me ask you this question. Ryan Kellerman asked, do you think Colbert and Tomlin already know who they're going to take, or it's just wait and see? I think they got a good idea. They got a couple of guys. They have a guy that they want to take. I think they have a name if he's there at 49, and then they have some contingencies based off that.
There's no way they do. No way they do. You're not picking to the second. You're not picking to the second round. So you're sitting there on Thursday night watching, unless you're going to trade up. What are you going to do? You have to win out once day two starts. Once day two starts, then they have their eye on a prospect that they really want that's still available. But I guarantee you, unless they're going to move up, which, by the way, I don't think they're going to do, into the first round, they're going to sit back, see who's still available, and then the second round, I wouldn't be shocked if they have a prospect on there that they are like, we need this guy. They might move in the second, but I don't think they move into the first.
They're going to auto draft like we do in fantasy football.
I tell you what. There was one year I did a fantasy league where it was an auto draft league. No one knew when the draft day was. I didn't tell anyone. And I was like, I changed it. So like when I sent them the invite, I changed everything. And so no one knew when it was. No one was there. Computer picked everyone's teams, and then you had to roll with it. You know what it caused? A lot of people like made trades and stuff. It was a lot of fun. We had a blast. That was a great season.
Yeah, that's what they're going to do. I mean, they're sheltering in place. They're
not going to auto draft.
Set the auto draft.
The actual NFL draft.
Take VPA, and they're going to be surprised every time a pick comes up. Ding! Oh, obviously, we didn't know we were going to get this guy.
Wait, it's our turn to pick? Wait, what?
We set this up for auto draft. What was the team that that let the clock run?
It was one of the Ohio teams. It was either the Bengals or the Browns. I can't remember. Well, the Browns have botched so many things in the draft, whether it was messed up trades, and late on picks. What someone else did?
No, I was trying to see. We're so bad with segues today. I was trying to throw you.
No, our segues have been money
They've been
today.
money today. I was trying to throw you
Yeah,
when
you
you
just
said
haven't been paying
Browns.
attention.
When you said Browns,
You want to talk about the
I was
Browns?
trying to. You were going to say when it comes
it's a great
to
segue. They unveiled their new old uniforms today.
Yes. So that's what it is. Like their uniforms look old.
I'm
and
like
young
a Cleveland Brown.
Yes. They look old.
No, I'm not.
At the same time. Man, I love kicking the Browns. I love kicking the Browns. And the bad thing about the Browns, like if the Browns wanted to go back to like yesteryear, just break out the Jim Brown unis. But after Jim Brown,
what's the difference? What is the difference in the uniforms and from what Brown wore to now?
Nothing.
Is there?
Nothing. They still got Baker Mayfield. So, what is it?
He's
I love when teams change uniforms. When you change uniforms, you're bad. You're bad. Jets changing uniforms, the Falcons changing uniforms, Tampa changing uniforms. You're just bad. There is nothing attractive about brown uniforms. Nothing. Like absolutely, orange and brown is not an attractive mix unless if it's Thanksgiving. My mom went to Oliver High School in Pittsburgh. Their colors were brown and black, and they were ugly. Brown, black, and white. Oliver High School. So just imagine on the north side of Pittsburgh. Roonies are from north side. Three River Stadium is in north side. Heinz Field is in north side. You go to a high school that has the Cleveland Browns colors. It's awesome. The colors are horrible. Her Letterman jacket is absolutely the worst. And Ezra is right. Orange and brown is the worst color combination. The only thing that was uglier than orange and brown was that 1995 throwback Steeler uniform with the city crest. Those were absolutely.
Don't say that to Brian Davis. He has one of those.
I want one of those. I want one of those for my 50th birthday.
He can get it for you. It'll fall off a boat from China, but he'll get it.
Yes. Well, we might have to wipe that thing down now.
You said that, not me.
Well, I'm wiping off packages from Safeway now anyway, so I'm wiping.
Well, hey, here's a question for you. So we had three teams, like you said, the Falcons, the Bucks, and the Browns, all got brand new uniforms. And I thought the Falcons. No, last year. Yeah. So the Falcons, like some of them aren't bad, but one of them says ATL on the chest. And it's like, come on. Who has the worst uniforms in the NFL? I think I know where you're going to go, but I want to know what you think of the Bengals.
The Bungles, of course. No
okay,
doubt.
Give me another one. Another team you're like, gosh,
the Browns are terrible too. The Ravens are bad as well. That purple and black is terrible. The all black is sweet though. I hate to say that. The all black Raven uniforms are sweet with the black helmets and the black pants and black socks. Those
are the Steelers color rush. It's blackout. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, those are man. But yeah, the whole AFC North is bad except for the Steelers.
Hold on. There's teams you're forgetting, okay? The Jacksonville Jaguars have awful uniforms.
Oh, yes. The color rushes are the worst of all time.
Yeah. You know what else other uniforms I've never really liked, and they haven't changed much since they came to the league? I've never been a fan of the Carolina Panthers unis. I don't like that. That baby blue is obnoxious to me. Like it's
I missed I forgot who I think it might have been what's the guy? Jerry Cherry Band. When we were talking about uniforms, I forgot a uniform, a classic one, the Dolphins. I forgot about the Dolphins, that teal, that little dolphin blue that they wear with the white pants. Although the orange tops are terrible. When they wear the orange tops, those,
I know what you mean.
Are pretty bad. But the Dolphin uniforms are classic.
If we're talking about horrible color rush, to me, other than the Jaguars when they went to that pewter gold, the Seattle Seahawks highlighter green are atrocious. I don't care what anyone says. Get rid of those things, man. Go back to that old school gray and the blue and the green and like the Steve Largent, when they were in the AFC Seahawks.
Those were sweet.
Those were awesome. I would love Seattle to go back to that.
Speaking of Steve Largent, how many people know that he actually played football. If you looked at Steve Largent, like he became a senator and all that stuff. You look at Steve Largent,
look at Jim Zorn. It's the same thing.
Yeah, there's no way you would think Steve Largent was a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Steve Largent was awesome. He was flat out awesome.
I don't know. Someone's saying, it's here. Zach says, Lance, you need to talk to Drake about taking your Who's Bad on his new song, copyright infringement. I don't know if you have a copyright on that, though.
No, I don't. I typically don't listen to Drake either. So he'll have to tell me what song that is. Drake just makes me laugh. Every time Drake sings, I laugh. So yes, the Oilers, Grayson Brown said the Oilers throwbacks are fire. They are fire. That Houston Oiler top, the light blue top with the Oilers on the helmet, those are nice. Houston Oilers always lost to the Steelers. Yes.
Brian Anthony Davis chimes in with 10 spots left in his community mock draft that's going to be going on Monday during his Steelers Q&A podcast. You can email him badavis8889, that's 3 8s, at gmail.com. Again, badavis8889 at gmail.com. Last thing before we get started, before we call it a show, we didn't talk about this at all. I talked about it with Chris Carter when I joined him on his Locked On Steelers podcast. What were your thoughts about Hard Knocks not going to be in Pittsburgh? I mean, I'm sure you heard that news. We all thought they were going to be there. Don't lie.
Well, only thing I'm sad about is hearing more Tomlinisms. That'd have been great. I'd have been just like, my highlight would have just been watching Mike Tomlin be the star of every episode of Hard Knocks. That would have been.
He would have been too.
He would have been the star. I mean, he's a funny guy. And I would have loved to have seen if he actually rehearses all of his Tomlinisms, or if he actually rehearses how to not give information in press conferences, but talk for like an hour. Like, that's a skill, to be able to talk that much and give no information. I would have wanted to see if he practiced that.
Yeah, because if you compare it a bit to Cowher wouldn't say much. Like, if he was, I remember watching with my dad as a kid every week the press conferences, and he'd come in his ugly sweaters, Bill Cowher would, and there were days where he was angry. Maybe the team's on a losing streak. Maybe he's getting questions that he doesn't like, and all of a sudden he would just be real short. No, yeah, I don't think we're going to do that. Nope, Cordell Stewart's a quarterback. We're sticking with Cordell. Blah blah blah. Whatever the case may be. Tomlin rarely ever, I shouldn't say never, because he rarely ever gives a short answer. He goes and waxes poetic.
Yes.
But he says nothing. He just talks in circles. Like, wait a second. You just talked for 5 minutes and told us absolutely nothing.
Tomlin has learned, and I don't know if you do that with your kids, because I don't spank kids. I've never really been a spanker. And so part of my punishment is having my kids sit and have to listen to me talk for a long time. I hope that's not a punishment for all of you listening to the podcast, but that's
you are being punished.
That's the punishment for my kids. It's just making them have to sit and listen to me go on and on and on. That in and of itself becomes a punishment. So when Tomlin is mad, he just talks more. He just makes all the press sit there while he just gets it all out. And the press is his therapy, because he doesn't say anything. He doesn't give anything substantial. Like, I've heard him go into like 4 or 5 cliches in a row, and I'm just like, oh, he's pissed. He's on a roll. He just went to 5 cliche. He's on a 5 cliche in a roll. Like, yes. Wes is killing me already. Depends on what you're talking about, Lance.
Lance is the agitator. He's the agitator of the group. He even in text message form likes to get the Oracle all fired up and gets them all ticked off. And then I have to defuse the situation, reminiscing about my 8th grade football season. It was amazing. Yeah, the way it ended was amazing. I'll save that for Sunday's show. But anything else, Lance, for the good of the order?
No, I don't have anything else other than I wish that everybody, stay safe, keep having some patience, and, make sure the nation takes care of the nation.
Absolutely. Why don't you send us off the only way that you know how?
And as always, tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe.
Amen. We will see you next Wednesday for another episode of the Flagship Podcast. The standard is the standard. Be safe, everyone.